Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
And I'm Pauline Verzosa.
The big stories tonight. The Energy Department says there's still enough fuel to go around in the next couple of months. What it cannot promise, though, is affordability of oil over this period.
And lawmakers are calling government's recent aid package to transport a mere token gesture. They believe the Marcos administration is spending too little on the sector when it has so much revenues from taxes.
And tonight we also look at the faces of a crisis. Our correspondents tell us real stories from the ground of drivers and farmers who are barely surviving as the energy emergency deepens.
Bumababa yung presyo. Pero ngayon may nabalita na naman tayo may sinira na naman sila doon. So baka mag-akyat ulit.
Sana naman po maunawaan ninyo kung ano po yung mga hinanakit namin kasi sobrang hirap ngayon ng buhay.
Ay na, sobrang hirap. Wala talagang mamimili. Kagaya nito, tingnan mo sir, hindi pa nabibili yan. Ini-impake lang namin.
Loob-loob sa hirap, kundi pati na rin yung mental condition. Paano ka makakabangon? Paano ka magsimula?
Renewed attacks in the Middle East have erased oil gains made over the ceasefire announcement last Wednesday.
And this leads to the question, how much of a rollback will we see come next week's price adjustment?
It's also a wait and see as government looks into possible collusion among oil companies when it comes to pricing. Mobile Journal Amy Atienza has tonight's big story.
The announcement of a 2-week ceasefire between the U.S., Israel, and Iran set the stage for some relief over fuel prices. Brent crude, the world's oil price benchmark, immediately fell below $100 a barrel. This led to projections of a decrease in Philippine pump prices. On Thursday, April 9, industry sources estimated diesel to go down between 5 to 10 pesos per liter next week, while gasoline, a modest 1 to 3 pesos per liter. These were based on price averages of the mean of Platts Singapore used to determine local pump prices in Southeast Asia. But on Friday, April 10, oil prices again surged after fresh attacks by Iran on Saudi Arabia. Monitoring has also showed tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz remains frozen. Brent crude, the global benchmark, which plunged to $94 a barrel after the ceasefire announcement, now is hovering back at $97. In an interview today on 1PH, Ted Filon and DJ Chacha, Energy Secretary Sharon Garin acknowledged this development may affect next week's projected rollback.
The major factor, or probably the only factor here na makaka-determine whether aakyat or bababa, kung ano yung gagawin ng US, Iran, tsaka Israel. Why did kasi kahit anong ginagawa nila, kung halimbawa, ceasefire tayo ng 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So, nung in-announce yan, bumababa yung presyo. Pero ngayon, may nabalita na naman tayo, may sinira na naman sila doon. So, baka mag-akyat ulit.
There's some good news though. Garin, in a briefing at Malacanang today, announced that the country has secured some 150 million liters of oil. While she did not specify when it will arrive, Garin said that the 165 million liters are already confirmed to come. The acquired oil came from Malaysia, Singapore, India, and Oman.
Ang target nito kasi is 318 million liters, 2 million barrels. So sa ngayon po, ang na-order at siguradong darating is 165 million. So marami pong ibang bansa ang kukunan natin dito, hindi lang po galing po sa Middle East, para hindi po tayo dependent sa Middle East or sa Strait of Hormuz.
Garin also announced that the DOE is also looking into possible collusion among oil companies on the weekly fuel adjustments. The DOE has coordinated with the Philippine Competition Commission in the matter.
We have in fact coordinated with the Philippine Competition PCC, Philippine Competition Commission, na para to check the behavior of oil companies, kung meron bang cartelization or merong paglabag po ng ating mga rules on profiteering. So far pa naman, these are all under investigation or under observation.
On Thursday, House Ways and Means Panel Chairman Miro Kimball first called the attention of the Energy Regulatory Commission and the PCC on this possible collusion of oil companies. Garin has also suggested it might be time to review the system for adjusting fuel product prices. Kapatid Amy Atienza, we are One News.
And 5 weeks into the oil crisis, and vulnerable sectors are already drowning in its wake. This week, we've seen some action from government to keep the hardest hit afloat. And let's talk about this with News 5 correspondent Gerard De La Peña. Gerard has been covering the oil price movements and the transport sector these past weeks. Hello, welcome sa amin. Nag-overtime ka para sa amin.
Thanks for having me here.
But, alam mo, nakakalungkot makita these grown men crying pag in-interview. Isalaysay mo yung kanilang mga struggles.
Actually, I was able to have interviews with so many drivers during the past couple of weeks. Well, the past month actually. Isa lang yung team na ng mga sinasabi nila. Lahat sila hirap na from earning like 1,000 before. Ngayon nauuwi nila 200, 300 na lang a day. And that's really saddening. So, marami sa kanila hindi na lang nagda-drive. Nagko-quit na lang, napapahinga na lang muna. And then yung iba, yung mga natitira, ayaw na nilang magpaikot-ikot. So, during yung mga patay na oras sa tinatawag nila. So, that could be between around 10 a.m. up to around 3 p.m. na wala masyadong pasahero. Wala, idle lang sila dun sa mga terminal nila, hindi na lang sila bumabiyahe. Kesa nga naman magpaikot-ikot sila, wasting fuel. Wala naman masyadong pasahero din.
Nakikita mo ba na parang out of touch ang gobyerno sa nangyayari sa mga transport workers?
Ako, in a way, yes. Kasi like yung mga policies na ini-implement nila, parang something na hindi naiintindihan ng mga jeepney drivers, most especially.
Kagaya ng ano
Yung katulad nitong huling pagpapamigay nila ng subsidy, fuel subsidy. Up to now, ang dami pa rin hindi nakakuha.
Oo nga eh.
Like merong isang parang JODA, Jeepney Operators and Drivers Association, somewhere in Manila. Parang sa kanila, lahat sila hindi pa nakakuha. Despite the fact that they've been driving, ang mas masakla pa dito, yung iba consolidated na nga. So, in essence, they followed the law na mag-consolidate, and yet sila yung wala pa nakukuha na tulong from the government. Hindi ko alam kung ano yung problem dito.
Oo nga, nakakainis mapakinggan ng inefficiency nila.
And this is something that we've seen kahit pa nung pandemic, nag-extend ng tulong ang gobyerno dun sa sector na ito. And yet, post-pandemic, hindi pa rin naayos yung database. Until now, ang dami pa rin hindi nakakakuha ng tulong, which is frustrating for many of them.
Kasi 1 month na rin, diba? I mean, we're now in the 6th week already of the war. Gerard, marami pa rin hindi nakakakuha. So, hindi pa rin ma-pinpoint din kahit ng gobyerno kung saan nangyayari yung breakdown dito sa pag-distribute ng subsidies.
Well, ang sabi nila, inaayos nila. But up to now, yung DSWD nag-move na sa provinces from NCR. Pero up to now, ang dami pa rin hindi nakakuha ng sinasabing fuel subsidy from the Department of Transportation.
Nakakarampot kung tutuusin. Tapos itong service contracting scheme, baka ganyan din mauuwi na may mga ibang grupo lang ang mabibiyayaan.
Ako personally, having covered this same scheme during the pandemic, ang nakita ko, well, it's something good for the commuters. Kasi libre ang pamasahe nung sa EDSA busway, most especially during the pandemic. It's something good for the commuters. But the problem is, ang daming mga jeepney drivers na actually ako hindi ko alam kung meron jeepney drivers talaga na naambunan, so to speak, nitong service contracting na ito.
So puro bus lang.
We don't really know. Up to now, I don't really know.
Alam mo, they don't explain well.
Yes,
Hindi
yes.
sila transparent with the announcements. Ano pa ba ang mga reklamo dito sa gobyerno?
Yeah, that's one. Yung isang na-interview ko kanina, ang sabi niya, parang April 15 na to, that's Wednesday next week. Hindi pa rin sila informed kung paano gagawin, qualified ba kami, paano ba makasali dyan. So, totally clueless sila sa kung anong mangyayari. Ang isa pa na problem na nakita nila, parang yun nga, medyo out of touch ang government. Hindi nila naiintindihan kung ano yung nangyayari on the ground.
Pero when it comes to this service contracting program, ang plano din ng gobyerno ay mag-install ng GPS sa mga jeep. Paano ba mag-work yun?
I don't really know.
At saka, it sends a bad signal na parang wala kang tiwala para bang mangdadaya pa ang mga jeepney drivers sa gobyerno, di ba? Kaya yun ang dahilan ng GPS, di ba? Para ma-monitor sila.
That's one way of looking at it.
What are the other reasons?
They really have to monitor kasi ang idadahilan nila kasi this is taxpayers' money. We really have, dapat may pupuntahan talaga. Ang problem dito is, parang sabi nila, parang may monthly na babayaran yung mga jeepney drivers na 500 pesos.
Saan?
Para doon sa
Parang
subscription
subscription.
sa GPS. I think this is problematic in a sense na itong mga driver na ito, nanggagaling sila doon sa 300 na nga lang yun na iuuwi nila. Tapos ngayon, they'll be getting what, 1,000 a day? And then pagbabayarin mo pa ng 500, which is medyo mabigat for them.
And where is this GP? Alam mo na kung sino yung supplier niyan?
Hindi namin alam kung ano yung pangalan ng supplier, but the DOTR said may nakausap na sila kung sino yung
Mabilis
supplier.
sila doon pagdating sa supplier.
Na naibaba yung presyo to 500. I don't know how much that is
500
before.
for the subscription, pero iba pa
But
for
the
the device.
gadgets,
Oo. Pinaka-GPS device.
That aspect, we weren't able to confirm with them kung paano yung mismong spare part, yung gadget, paano yung subscription, kung paano yung details. The last time na na-require itong GPS was with the taxi sometime in 2015, I think. Na tinatry nilang i-modernize yung fleets ng taxi natin. But that particular move, hindi na rin pa nagkaroon ng follow-up kasi na-overtake na sila ng TNVS, di ba? So now, hindi natin alam kung ano na, what happened.
Well, in a way, itong service contracting, relief din naman yan for the drivers, di ba?
Yes,
Sabi
of
nila,
course.
malaking tulong yan kasi babayaran sila per kilometer. Pero yung another concern for them is gaano ba kabilis nila mare-receive itong bayad from the government, considering nung pandemic, Gerard, kahit yung mga bus, hanggang ngayon, hindi pa nila
Hindi pa nababayaran. That's why pinupush nila yung GPS para daw mas mabilis makapag ng
Compute.
payout sa mga drivers. Kasi kung hindi GPS, manual silang babantayan ng
GPS sila, hindi nga sila makagawa ng listahang maayos ng lahat ng mga driver, di ba? Yun
And
na lang.
also, I think that's
I know.
problematic in a sense na yung mga hindi nabayaran during the pandemic, ang sabi nila kanina sa amin, hindi raw nag-reconcile yung data from the GPS and the data from the DOTR. I don't know kung ano yung re-reconcile nila. But the thing is, may problem din with the GPS system. So, medyo malabo yung ipapatupad.
So, itong mga pag-cope naman ng mga jeepney drivers, saan sila, yung mga ayaw na yung mga ayaw na magmaneho, anong trabaho meron nag-aantay bang trabaho sa kanila?
Ang kwento lang sa atin ng mga yung mga kapwa nila driver, yung iba, wala, talagang pahinga lang. Sabi ko, paano sila mabubuhay kung hindi sila magtatrabaho?
Siguro ang misis merong...
Siguro, ganun. May konting kabuhayan siguro, or siguro nakapangutang. We don't really know. But one thing's clear, sila yung kawawa, sila yung victims dito sa scenario na to.
Pero ang mga pasahero naman, willing magbayad ng mas malaki, hindi ba?
Yes,
Kaya
yes,
nakakagulat din, balikan na, i-replay natin yung unang-unang pasok ng krisis na sinuspindi yung pisong fare hike.
Yes,
Oo.
yes.
Ano yung pakiramdam nila nun?
Nung sinuspend yun, syempre they felt betrayed. Na parang ito na nga lang yung inaasahan namin para makaraos kami sa napakataas na presyo ng fuel. And then, hindi siya napatupad. Now, ang nakakatuwa dito, yung mga private citizens, parang nagkukusa na sila. Like, may isang nagkwento sa akin, ang ikli lang ng route, it's less than 5 kilometers. Binigyan daw siya ng 50 pesos. Just one passenger, binigyan siya ng 50 pesos, manong keep the change. Marami raw ganun ngayon. Na kahit 13 pesos lang yung base fare, everyone's willing to shell out extra.
Pero do they feel self-pity pagka ganyan na parang halos manlimos na lang sila? Halos, parang ganun di ba?
Well, I think we've
Merong
seen the
nakakababad
worst.
ba ng dignidad?
I think we've seen the worst during the pandemic. Yun yung talagang nanlilimos na sila. Kasi bawal silang bumiyahe nun, bawal mag-public transport yung mga tao. I think that's the worst. Right now, sila yun nandito sa stage na, sige, kaya pa. Pag nag-200 per liter ang diesel, mukhang yun yung talagang baka
Worst
balik
case
tayo dun
scenario.
sa panlilimos. Right now, kaya pa.
Alam mo yung lagi nilang daing, yung mga oil companies, mga dambuhala, mga ganon, no? Ano ba sa tingin mo, based on the pricing and everything, and matagal ka na nag-cover ng transport sector, may collusion nga ba and indecent na nga ba ang profits ng mga oil companies?
Sa tagal ko nag-cover ng business, alam mo parang ano to eh, para siyang something that we just tolerate. Ang tagal na niyang problema, ang dami ng attempts by the lawmakers to unbundle the prices of fuel just to see kung alin ba
Parang
dito
may
yung
transparency
profit.
man lang.
Paano yung components ng binabayad ng mga tao? Saan dito yung kita, saan dito yung expense, saan dito yung nalulugi? I think it's really high time na talagang yung mga lawmakers natin should push for the unbundling or at least ma-check lang man lang itong mga to because we're all in the dark kung saan nga ba napupunta yung binabayad natin.
Because last night we were also talking to Sunny Africa, tapos sinabi niya na ang windfall na nakuha ng mga oil companies aabot na sa 47 billion pesos, and that's in March alone because of the high prices, diba? So
Because their inventory was at a low, was
Yes.
bought at a
Yes.
very low
Before the
price pa.
conflict.
Tapos di na-justify nila eh. It's hard. Go ahead, sorry.
kasi they're saying, ganun yung presyo, kasi yung bibilhin nila in the future, mas
Mahal
mahal
na.
na. It's based on futures din, di ba? Pero, ang tanong ko, Gerard, tali ba talaga yung government natin? Tali yung mga kamay nila in checking kung may profiteering ba, may price gouging?
I think in terms of imposing prices, yun yung medyo tali yung government. But yun nga, nabanggit ng ilang lawmakers, they can still do something to prevent these abuses.
Kasi hindi ba pwedeng let's say, ang legislature natin mag-pass ng law to tax the profits this year?
Yes.
Diba?
oo.
To
I think
limit.
that's one. I think that's one. And I think, I find it interesting yung move ng Department of Energy to ask the Philippine Competition Commission to investigate if there's collusion, if there's sabwatan, connivance between oil companies. Kasi napakatagal na nitong magtataka ka itong mga oil companies, iba't iba naman yung cost nila sa pag-procure ng
Pero
ng supply
magkakalapit
nila.
ang presyo or halos
Hindi nga magkakalapit. Halos pare-pareho
Kasi
lang sila.
Supposedly, nung pinasa yung oil deregulation law, di ba, you will see more competition. Parang hindi nangyari.
Ngayon, merong competition in a sense na
There's smaller gas stations that have come out.
yeah, and siguro in terms of service, alin ba dito yung may mas magandang service, mas magandang CR, mas may magandang commercial spaces. Siguro in that aspect, but I think at the end of the day,
Did we need a oil deregulation law for that?
definitely
Diba?
no. But I think there's ang titingnan pa rin ng mga consumers at the end of the day is prices. Kung saan may mura doon, pero kung magkakamukha yung presyo, na iba lang sa area, doon tayo sa area kung saan mura.
Next week mukhang may rollback, may rare rollback for the first time in several weeks. Malaking bagay ba yun?
I'm trying to observe the movement in the international market. When US and Iran announced this ceasefire, from 110 yung benchmark na WTI crude futures from 110, 115 it was down to 91. And then the following day, may mga missiles pa rin sa Persian Gulf. Naging 95, naging 97. Yesterday, it's 99. Right now, it's 98. So the question is, do we expect a rollback? I think meron, but it's very meager.
Insignificant.
So anong sabi ng crystal ball mo, mga magkano?
Yesterday, ang forecast sila for the first 3 trading days was 350 for diesel, rollback of 350. For gas, it's a rollback of 1 peso or no change. Today, ang latest forecast nila is 650 rollback. I don't know what's going to,
Marami pang pwede
what's
mangyari.
the results of trading for today. So let's see tomorrow.
Okay, we'll know by Monday.
Monday, yeah.
Monday, right. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
reporting to us and going overtime. News 5 correspondent Gerard De La Peña there.
And now overseas, deadly Israeli airstrikes in Lebanon have killed over 200 people and caused widespread destruction. These have prompted international condemnation, urgent diplomatic responses, and renewed warnings of a widening regional conflict. Here's that report.
First responders continued search and rescue operations through the night in Beirut, Lebanon, as they combed through the rubble for survivors following deadly Israeli airstrikes. Lebanon's health ministry says at least 203 people were killed, while more than 1,000 others were injured in the widespread attacks. U.S. President Donald Trump said Lebanon was excluded from a recently agreed ceasefire between the United States, Israel, and Iran, pointing to the presence of the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah as a key reason. Lebanon's prime minister has announced plans to file a formal complaint before the United Nations in response to the intensified Israeli strikes. The European Union has strongly condemned the attacks in southern Lebanon, warning that escalating violence along the border could spark a broader regional conflict. The bloc also called for a maximum restraint from all sides and urged full respect for international humanitarian law, particularly the protection of civilians.
We firmly condemn the recent attacks launched by Israel against Lebanon, which have caused a large number of casualties among the civil population and extensive destruction of civilian infrastructure. Such actions represent a very serious escalation and an unacceptable threat to civilian lives and regional stability.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a video statement, said Israel would continue its strikes against Hezbollah until security is restored in the northern Israel. He added that he has authorized direct negotiations with Lebanon aimed at disarming Hezbollah and eventually establishing formal relations between the two countries. For its part, the United Nations said it welcomes any direct talks between Israel and Lebanon.
We obviously would welcome any direct negotiations between Israel and Lebanon for the sake of both Israelis and Lebanese. And as we've been saying, there is no military solution to this conflict, and we hope the road to diplomacy will be taken.
You're still watching The Big Story on One News, and still ahead, Benguet is now struggling because of the oil crisis. Farming and tourism are taking a hit. The bigger picture when we return. Stay tuned. The Big Story is back with more stories making the headlines this Friday. First, an alleged leadership coup at the House of Representatives. There have been reports of Speaker Bogie D. That Speaker Bogie D, will be replaced by former President, now Pampanga Congresswoman Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Arroyo was House Leader back in 2018. But she was quick to dispel the coup rumors. In a statement, Arroyo reaffirmed confidence in these leadership and highlighted ties with the Speaker's family that go back decades. In another development, President Bongbong Marcos has appointed Dita Angara Matay as Tourism Secretary. She succeeds Cristina Frasco, now the Presidential Advisor for Sustainable and Resilient Communities. Angara Matay previously served as Commercial Counselor in Tokyo, where she handled trade and investment ties with Japanese industries.
And on to another story. The Interior Department's Safer Cities program is getting flack from the Children's Legal Rights and Development Center. In a statement, the group said that blanket curfew hours for minors will only result in more arrests and abuses of children. It cited the PNP's anti-tambay campaign that led to congestions in facilities for minors. The Children's Advocacy Group is urging the DILG instead to conduct community-based activities, empower barangay councils to protect children, and to provide financial support to vulnerable households. And in consumer news, Meralco customers will see their power bills rise. Electricity rates will climb by 53 centavos per kilowatt hour in April due to the weakening peso and tighter supply conditions in the Luzon grid. This means households and establishments consuming 200 to 500 kilowatt hours will need to pay an additional 107 to 267 pesos every month.
In Baguio City, a state of calamity has been declared. And joining us live from the summer capital is News 5's Gio Robles. Gio, tama ba na halos walang masakyan na dyan sa Baguio kapag gumagabi na?
Ses, Pawi, good evening. Glad to see you both. Let me begin first with my chance encounter with Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong as we are about to go on air. Saktong-sakto, nag-iikot ang alkalde sa mga sakayan ng jeep malapit dito sa Session Road kung saan tayo nakatayo. At napag-usapan nga namin kanina briefly itong state of calamity na idineklara ng lokal na pamahalaan ng Baguio ay para nga matugunan itong krisis sa langis at magamit ang Quick Response Fund ng lungsod para na inilaan para sa mga apektadong sektor. Binigyang diin ni Magalong yung kahalagahan na magdeklara pa sila ng state of calamity. As we can remember, March 24 ay isinailalim na rin na President Bongbong Marcos ang buong bansa under a state of national energy emergency. Pero sabi ni Magalong kanina sa atin, iba pa rin daw kasi kapag hands-on ang lungsod at hindi daw sapat yung idineklara ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. Although he agrees with it, pero mas kailangan pa daw ng dagdag na tulong, lalo na nga itong mga tsuper gaya sa tanong mo, Ma'am Ses, no, ayon kay Magalong, previous days or ilang mga araw lang, medyo pahirapan nga yung pagsakay dito sa Baguio dahil kumaunti nabawasan yung bilang ng mga pumapasadang public utility vehicle, lalo-lalo na yung mga jeep. Sa pag-iikot natin dito sa Baguio, may ilang grupo na ng mga tsuper na tumigil sa pamamasada dahil abonado na nga raw sila. Wala na raw silang kita na naiuuwi sa kanilang mga pamilya. Kumbaga negative na dahil sa sobrang taas nga ng langis na pupunta na lahat sa krudo. So sa ngayon, Ma'am Ses, ayon kay Mayor Benjamin Magalong, 5% ng Quick Response Fund nila ay kukunin yon sa local revenue. He clarified na it's 5%, not 1.5% gaya sa report natin kanina sa Frontline Pilipinas. So on update lang doon. So sa ngayon, meron silang 164 million pesos na inilaan para sa preparedness, mitigation at prevention. At ngayon yung ginagamit na ngayon nila is 64 million pesos. Isa sa mga prioridad dyan o saan mapupunta ba yan? Prioridad dyan ay yung mga tsuper ng jeep. Sa ngayon, kukontratahin din sila ng local government unit na bumiyahe sa mga oras kung saan expected na kulang yung mga pumapasadang jeep. Lalong-lalo na nga para may masakyan din yung mga pasahero between 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. yan. So ilan lang yan ngayon sa mga programa. Meron ding ayuda ang local government unit sa mga tsuper ng jeep at susunod na nga ito namang mga taxi driver na mabibigyan din ng ayuda. Sa ngayon, fina-finalize na lang yung listahan dahil sobrang dami nga ng mga taxi driver dito sa Baguio City, which is 3,000 yung bilang. Ses.
Gio, yung pagkontrata sa mga jeepney drivers, so in a way para na yan yung service contracting program na balak i-implement nationwide. Pero diyan sa Baguio, kamusta ang implementasyon? Ano yung sinabi ng mga tsuper? Malaking tulong ba yan sa kanila?
Yung service contracting, separate pa yan na ipatutupad ng LTFRB and ng DOTR, which is the mother agency nga ng LTFRB. Yan din yung binabantayan ngayon ng mga tsuper dito sa Baguio. Kasi nga from our last conversation with LTFRB Chairman Vigor Mendoza, fina-finalize pa nga nila yung guidelines at ng implementation nun. Pero ngayon dito sa Baguio, yun na yung ginagawa. Based from my interview with Mayor Magalong, kontrata na nila yung ilan sa mga jeep dito na pumasada on hours. Ito yung, I think, yung mga off-peak hours na kung saan din mas kailangan niya ng mga pasahero na masasakyan. Okay, kanina I mentioned may mga tumigil ng pumasada. Ito yung mga driver na may rutang Holy Ghost Extension pero bumalik na rin sila sa pamamasada matapos nga nagkaroon ng voluntary fare increase na pagkasunduan yan dito sa consultation meeting nila between dito sa mga driver at sa mga representative ng community dito kung saan belong itong Holy Ghost route na mga driver. So 20 pesos yung voluntary fare increase. That's the regular fare mula yan sa 13 pesos. Tapos yung discounted fare naman para sa mga mag-aaral, ito yung sa mga kapatid nating PWD ay nasa 16 pesos na mula sa 10 pesos and 50 centavos. So sa ngayon, isa din yon sa mga ginagawa na rin na diskarte ngayon dito ng mga driver ng jeep. As I mentioned nga, dahil rin kulang na yung kita na naiuuwi nila sa kanilang mga pamilya. Ito daw yung voluntary fare increase ay kahit papano konting tulong din daw yan sa kanila dahil nga para madagdagan din yung kita nila na halos napupunta na nga lahat sa krudo. Sa pag-iikot natin dito sa mga gasolinahan sa Baguio, nasa 150 pesos hanggang sa higit 160 pesos ang kada litro ng diesel. Pawi, Ses.
Kamusta naman ang dating ng mga turista? Alam mo, summer capital, summer na ngayon. Isa pa yan sa dagok na tumama sa Baguio. Tama ba?
Yes, good thing Ses na tanong mo yan dahil napag-usapan din yan namin ni Mayor Magalong kanina lamang. So ngayon, itong mga tao na nakikita mo sa likod ko ngayon, Ses, medyo marami-rami pa yan visually, no, based sa nakikita natin. Pero ayon kay Mayor Magalong, kaunti yan since we all know Friday ngayon kung saan inaasahan nga daw na mas dagsa yung mga tao dito sa Session Road. Ayon sa Baguio City Tourism ay bumaba nga ng 40 to 50% ang tourist arrivals dito sa Baguio, bunsod ng krisis sa langis. May isang grupo naman ng mga hotel at restaurant na nagsabi na nasa 20 to 30% lang ang bookings. Ayon kay Mayor Magalong, first time daw na mangyari dito sa Baguio na may mga hotel especially yung mga first class hotels na walang bookings at all. Yun yung epekto sa turismo nitong krisis sa langis dito sa Baguio City. Pero sa ngayon, may mga nakikita pa tayong paunti-unti na mga turista. Kanina may nakausap tayong grupo mula sila sa Davao pero they explained na yung ticket nila last year pa daw kasi nila na book yun. And then ngayon na lang nila ginamit. So para hindi naman daw masayang. Pero so far, may mga paunti-unti pa tayong mga turista na nakikita dito sa Baguio. Pero still, mas mababa nga daw yan kumpara, especially starting from Holy Week break. Says Pawi.
At Gio, kamusta naman ang kalagayan ng ating mga magsasaka dyan sa Benguet? I know you visited them. You even posted this very powerful video kung saan pinakita na maraming gulay na mukhang hindi na mabebenta at masasayang.
O nang bumiyahe tayo papunta nga dito sa Baguio ay dumiretso muna tayo sa Atok sa may Benguet. Napuntahan natin ang Barangay Paway kung saan ilan sa mga magsasaka doon napilitan na nga na kumbaga hayaan na mabulok ang kanilang mga gulay dahil kung tutuusin daw wala naman na daw silang kikitain kaya imbes na mapagod sila sa pag-ani sa mga gulay ay tinadtad na lang nila actually para gawin na nga lang pataba. Although may mga na-harvest naman sila pero it's not enough dahil number one nga, doble at triple na rin yung transportation cost nila papunta sa trading post, especially dito naman sa La Trinidad sa bayan na sa La Trinidad Vegetable Trading Post kung saan nga isa din sa pinakamalapit na bagsakan ng mga gulay mula sa iba't ibang bayan dito sa Benguet at sa Mountain Province. Ramdam din doon yung epekto ng krisis sa langis sa mga magsasaka at maging sa mga trader. Usually daw kasi mabilis yung interval ng mga truck na naghahatid, nagbabagsak ng mga gulay at doon naman sa mga nag-aangkat especially mula sa Metro Manila. Pero kahapon may ilang truck tayo nakita doon na 2 to 3 days na may mga dalang repolyo, may mga dalang patatas, hindi pa nabibili Ganun katumal ngayon ang bentahan ng gulay sa La Trinidad Vegetable Trading Post. Ayon sa mga magsasaka at trader, mababa na nga yung presyo ng mga gulay pero sobrang hina naman ng demand. Kaya maging sila kumbaga, masakit din sa loob nila na nakikita din yung mga gulay doon nga mismo sa bagsakan ng gulay nabubulok na dahil wala na nga masyadong bumibili. Bagsak presyo yung as I mentioned yung mga gulay. Ito I'll mention some of the prices doon sa La Trinidad Vegetable Trading Post. 8 to 10 pesos per kilo ang bentahan ng repolyo. 20 pesos naman sa kada kilo ng Korean radish. 15 pesos per kilo naman sa lokal na radish o labanos. 25 hanggang 30 pesos per kilo ang iceberg lettuce at naglalaro naman sa 20 pesos hanggang 40 pesos ang kada kilo ng patatas. Depende sa laki. Balik sa inyo.
Sobrang baba. Gio, nakakarating ba sa kanila kung ano ang balak na tulong na gawin ng Department of Agriculture? Meron kasing sinasabing maggagawa sila ng caravan para magdala yung mga gulay mula dyan sa norte.
Ayon nga sa DA, mamamahagi din ang ahensya ng tig 5,000 pesos na ayuda sa mga magsasaka. Bukod dyan, maglalabas din ang gobyerno ng additional na 10 billion pesos na kukunin sa special sa Presidential Assistance to Farmers and Fishermen Program. So mga magsasaka yung mabibigyan at mga mangingisda. Kwento ng ilang magsasaka doon sa Barangay Paway sa Atok, Benguet, usually daw hindi nakakaabot. Yung malungkot ito totoong kwento to ng mga magsasaka. Experience nila ito na minsan, madalas, hindi umaabot sa kanila yung tulong. Kwento nila yung minsan nga daw yung mga fertilizer hindi nila alam na may namahagi na pala pero wala naman sila natanggap. Or kahit yung mga seedlings minsan hindi tugma sa mga ipinamimigay kasi 'di ba highland 'yon, pero yung mga ipinamimigay din sa kanila na seedlings mula sa lowland, so hindi din nila napapakinabangan. Pero ngayon yun yung hinihintay ng mga magsasaka, yung ayuda, concrete na tulong mula sa gobyerno. These are not just tulong or ayuda, pero kung sana daw long-term solution. Same is true dito naman sa mga tsuper ng jeep, balik dito sa Baguio. Anila, hindi naman daw sila umaasa talaga sa ayuda. Yung gusto lang talaga nila ay pang matagalang solusyon para sa ikabubuti ng lahat. Ses, Pawi.
Ano ba ang mga suhestyon nila na long-term? Sabi mo nga yung ayuda ay programa hindi nakakarating sa kanila. So ano ang mga panukala nila naman?
Ito, syempre sa mga tsuper ng jeep dito, tanggalan na talaga muna yung VAT sa langis para nga mas maramdaman na nga nila o hindi nga maapektuhan din yung pagtaas sa presyo ng mga produktong petrol. Yun yung pangunahing panawagan ng mga tsuper ng jeep at saka yung oil deregulation law at yung mabilisang aksyon nga kapag may emergency. Yun yung isa sa mga nakikita nila na gusto talaga nilang maramdaman agad kasi ngayon daw, based from our conversation with them, yung sa kanila parang nababagalan sila sa aksyon na ginagawa ng pamahalaan. Pero based na lang nga rin din sa mga pahayag ni President Bongbong Marcos at ng Marcos administration, ginagawa naman nila ang lahat para matugunan nga itong krisis sa langis. Ses.
Okay, maraming salamat. News 5's Gio Robles reporting to us live from Baguio City.
We're just gonna pause for another breather, but after that, we have more stories on the ground, this time from drivers who can barely make ends meet for more than a month now. The big story will be right back. Stay with us.
You're watching the big story here on One News. Consuelo de Bobo. That's how Makabayan Bloc lawmakers called the Marcos administration's 10 peso per liter fuel subsidy for public utility vehicles. According to Congressmen Antonio Tino, Sara Ilago, and Rene Co, it seems the assistance only aims to keep government spending low rather than deliver relief to transport workers. The subsidy cap of 150 liters per week adds up to 300 pesos a day or 6,000 pesos a month per jeepney. Makabayan lawmakers say this is simply not enough as fuel costs have more than tripled while prices of basic goods are also up. They are likewise alarmed that President Bongbong Marcos seems to have abandoned the suspension of the fuel excise tax. Finance officials have earlier warned cutting fuel tax will cost government 136 billion pesos in 7 months. And meanwhile, the Social Welfare Department wrapped up aid distribution to motorcycle taxi riders today. Let's get the details from mobile journalist Arles De Los Santos. Arles, can you walk us through the process? Kamusta ang mga riders at drivers? Alam ba nila ang kanilang schedule, saan sila pupunta, etc., etc.?
Tess, buong araw nga tinutukan natin yung distribution ng ayuda o yung financial assistance sa mga kapatid nating tsuper. Particular, ngayong araw yung para doon sa mga motorcycle taxi riders, pero kasabay na niyan dito sa Taguig yung mga delivery riders na supposedly ay nakaschedule na makakuha ng kanilang ayuda kahapon. Pero yung akala raw kasi ng ilan ay walang payout kahapon dahil it's a holiday, araw ng kagitingan. Kaya ang ginawa ng pamahalaang lungsod ng Taguig dahil may mga dumating pa din ng mga delivery riders ay pinagsabay-sabay na nito. And supposedly din, dapat umaga at hapon yung schedule, hinati sa dalawa, pero isinantabi na nila yung naunang schedule na inilabas at pinagsabay-sabay na lang kung sino man yung ma-accommodate na mga transport drivers, yung mga MC taxi riders or delivery riders na dumating ay in-accommodate na nila agad. So yung process dito ng pagkuha ng kanilang ayuda, so for example, yung isang transport network company ay may mga driver, sila mismo yung magbibigay ng form sa kanila at magsosubmit ang kanilang mga driver para pumasok sa kanilang central system, yung base na kanilang ang pagbabasehan na kanilang ipapasa sa LTFRB, na yung LTFRB naman kung ano man yung mga papel na kanilang makuha, ayun naman yung kanilang ibibigay sa DSWD at DOTR na sila naman makatatanggap ng mga ayuda. Kanina yung kanilang natanggap ay nasa 5,000 pesos. Ayon sa iba, salamat daw na may magagamit sila pang ilang araw, pero ito ay tinatawag nilang band-aid solutions. Mas maganda raw sana kung talagang mas proactive yung approach at yung sagot ng pamahalaan dito. So naging mabilis naman yung processes, kasi yung mga tsuper na mga dumarating doon, kailangan lamang nilang magpresenta ng kanilang mga valid ID, yung kanilang mga driver's license. Kailangan hindi ito expired, dapat still active ito at magagamit, and yung kanilang photocopy ng kanilang lisensya naman na may 3 wet signature at phone number na nakalagay. Pero dahil marami sa ating mga kapatid na tsuper na galing pa mismo sa kanilang mga biyahe, yung iba madaling araw, dumiretso na agad doon kanina alas 8, meron dong libreng photocopy para hindi na rin sila mahirapan. And so far says, naging mabilis naman yung kanilang proseso doon. Basta verified yung iyong numero ay magpuproceed ka na doon sa Coliseum nilang tinatawag, at so far air-conditioned naman yung kanilang payout center or yung posts doon na kailangan lamang makuha ng mga driver yung kanilang numero at didiretso doon para makuha agad yung ayuda.
And Arles, alam mo, isang recurring problem dito, ever since nagsimula yung pagbigay ng cash assistance sa mga transport workers, yung mga beneficiaries na wala sa mga listahan. Na-address na ba yan ng DSWD or na-encounter pa rin yan hanggang ngayon?
Talking about that, Puli, na-encounter pa rin yan. Kanina, kasama yan sa mga mukha ng payout na nakita natin doon. Kagaya na lamang yung isa kong nakausap, si Lani, na isang delivery rider actually ng 2 transport company. Marso pa daw, nagsagot na siya nung kanilang form para nga makasama doon sa ayuda. Pero kanina, pag-check niya, dahil yung schedule nga, delivery riders at motorcycle taxi drivers, umaasa siya, nakasama siya doon sa listahan. Unfortunately, wala siya. So, iyan yung yung mga concern actually, Pauline. And hindi lang yan isang beses natin nakita, hindi lamang sila niyan. Meron pang ibang mga transport group na mas madami talaga. If we can just mention, no, yung Joyride application, madami sila mga driver dito sa Taguig na nagkaroon ng problema. Akala nila makatatanggap na sila at kasama sila sa listahan, pero turns out wala sila roon. Kaya ang kanilang ginawa, pumunta sila doon sa area kung saan nandun yung LTFRB at nagsagot sila ng mga form and kung may mga kailangan mga requirement para nga makaasa na pagka nagkaroon ng special payout ay makatatanggap na sila ng ayuda na syempre nagre-range pa rin sa 5,000 pesos.
So, masasabi mo bang bumaba na yung ganyang reklamo, ang bilang, or marami pa rin, relatively the same as before?
I think, Ses, it's relatively the same as before, no? Because for the entire time na nagko-cover tayo ng mga payout sa mga tsuper natin, no, kaparehas na mga concern. I think it's about time that the government address this. Kasi kung titignan natin ang LTFRB at DSWD, paulit-ulit naman nilang iginiit, no, na yung mga transport network companies yung nagbibigay sa kanila ng mga listahan. Kapag tinanong naman natin yung mga driver, nagsagot na sila ng mga form na ito. Kaya kasama sila sa mga naghahanap kung nasaan yung kanilang mga pangalan, no? Pero syempre, kailangan pa rin natin kunin yung tugon ng mga transport network companies na ito dahil baka meron pa rin silang criteria. But isa doon sa mga nakausap natin, Ses, part-timer siya, no, ng isang transport motorcycle taxi app, no, and sa kanya, aminado siya, meron siyang full-time job. Pero pagkatapos ng shift niya, gabi-gabi ay bumabiyahe siya doon, no. So ang concern niya, hindi ba siya nakasama sa payout dahil siya ay part-time driver o kailangan sa mga full-time drivers lamang ito? But ang kanyang argumento, at the end of the day, nagbibigay siya ng serbisyo sa mga kumpanya na ito, no? At maliit man daw o malaki yung kanyang naipapasok na pera, still kasama siya sa mga empleyado nito na hoping at ayun nga, no, talagang nagsubok kanina na makakuha ng ayuda.
Arles, kasama sa mga plano ng DSWD, yung pamamahagi na lamang ng ayuda through digital payout. Ano na ba yung latest dyan? Kasi marami rin sa mga kapatid natin na transport workers yung nahihirapan pumila, napakainit sa mga payout centers. So, hindi ba mapapabilis yung pag-implement nitong digital process?
I can attest, napakainit talaga kanina, Pauline at Ses. Napakatirik. Tirik yung araw, no? Pero mas ramdam lang natin siguro yung uhaw at yung pawis at yung pagkagusto talaga ng mga kapatid nating tsuper na makakuha na talaga ng ayuda. And doon sa update ng DSWD, kung magiging digital na ba yung payment, actually yung DOTR may mga modes of payment sila, no? Iba-iba. Meron through bank transfer, meron through e-wallet transfer, pwede rin sila makakuha ng ayuda or ng fuel subsidy sa pamamagitan ng fuel subsidy cards na mismo na isa-swipe na lamang nila sa mga gasolinahan. And kabukod dyan, kung malaki naman yung makukuhang pera kagaya nung nasaksihan natin sa PITX na naka-managers check na, no? Kasi doon yung naging payout ay nakadepende sa unit. Yung mga operator yung binigyan. So per unit, kung meron kang 10 unit, 10,000 yung matatanggap mo, no? But now we do not have yet an update kung nasa na nga ba yung DSWD dito, pero at least sa napuntahan natin ng mga payout cash na binibigay yung mga ayuda sa ating mga driver.
All right, maraming salamat sa iyo, mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. And another day, another growth downgrade. On the same week, the World Bank said the Philippine economy would slow down this year. It's the Asian Development Bank that's warning now that the country's heavy dependence on imported fuel will be a problem. Mobile Journal Fatima Baduria has that story.
The Asian Development Bank has slashed its growth forecast for the Philippines this year to 4.4% from its earlier projection of 5.3%. If realized, that means the economy will stall this year since GDP also came in at 4.4% for all of 2025. The outlook for the country is subdued because of the Middle East conflict, ADB said.
Oil price shocks have transmitted rapidly to domestic fuel pump prices, which have now more than doubled. Higher fuel and transport costs, together with rising global prices of food, fertilizer, and other commodities, are generating broader inflationary pressures.
In the latest edition of its Asian Development Outlook, ADB said inflation here will rise to 4% from 3% this year. If the war against Iran continues for an extended time, it might derail the country's growth along with the Asia-Pacific region. That's because most economies in this region are highly dependent on imported energy. A double whammy is the currency, As the peso depreciates against the US dollar, oil and gas, which are all paid for in USD, become even more expensive. And that will eventually feed into food costs.
Numbers I've seen are, it was gone from 1,500 pesos per 50 kg up to 2,500 pesos. That's 67% or so increase in fertilizer. So it's planting season. This could lead to less, if less fertilizer is used, it could lead to some lower yields later in the year. So it's very certainly a risk and a concern.
One other risk factor is remittances coming from the Middle East, which contributed about 7% to GDP last year.
Remittances from overseas Filipinos, an important buffer to household income, still managed to grow by 3.5% steadily in January 2026. However, we see that a prolonged conflict in the Middle East poses downside risks, given that the Middle East comprises about 17% of remittance flows, largely from Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates.
To cushion the impact, ADB called on the government to implement sustained reforms and support sectors at risk.
Maintaining sound macroeconomic fundamentals will really be important alongside targeted support for vulnerable households and supply-side measures to ease food and logistics pressures and constraints.
Per ADB, the Philippine economy is expected to rebound by 2027 with a growth outlook of 5.5%, assuming inflation doesn't get out of hand. Kapatid Fatima Baduria, we are One News.
And on a much lighter note, Signal TV will remain as official broadcast partner of the UAAP for 5 more years. The partnership ensures that the Premier Collegiate League will be seen in all Signal platforms until season 93 or 2031. The UAAP management signed a fresh 5-year contract extension with Signal this Friday. And representing the league is season 88 chairman and University of Santo Tomas rector Father Richard Ang. And signing for Signal are MediaQuest chairman Manuel V. Pangilinan and president and CEO Ricky Vargas. Signal and UAAP joined forces back in 2020 with games seen via One Sports on Free TV, UAAP Varsity Channel on cable, and Pilipinas Live on streaming.
We're very glad and privileged to extend our coverage of UAAP. We promise to improve the coverage of the sports, of the various sports that fall under the wing of the association.
And finally, our big picture tonight, acts of generosity amid these really, really tough times. In Manila, a commuters network distributed 300 hot meals this morning to jeepney drivers in Taft Avenue. Piston Women and Kids for Kids group prepared lunch for riders who can no longer afford a decent meal amid oil price hikes. In La Trinidad, Benguet, Hama Eatery was giving away budget meals for PUV, jeepney, and taxi drivers. Drivers do not need to show their licenses as proof. They just have to enter the eatery and eat for free.
It's really nice. At least hindi kailangan ng GPS system dyan. Hindi na kailangan magpakita ng napakaraming
Imagine, no, parang for
documents.
me, that lacks
Trust.
It's a show of a lack of trust. Anyway, there's a lot of generosity coming from the private sector, which makes up for, I hope.
But there's a bit of good news because some LGUs are also buying these vegetables already from farmers and selling them.
But you know, we are not seeing this so-called caravan
of the Agriculture Department.
Yeah. We'll be, checking on that next week.
All right, but for this weekend, we hope everyone could rest and take a break, take a breather from all that's happening in the world. But here on The Big Story, that's it for us this week. We'll see you again on Monday at 8 p.m.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Good night and have a restful weekend.